I the a-hole for not sharing my success with others? I've thought about creating my own finance blog for 3 years. Everything was tentative, but I eventually took the leap and created my blog. I put hours into the infrastructure, design, and posts. I'm so passionate about blogging, and finance is such a niche topic that I never thought I would succeed. 2 years later, I'm able to live off of the money I'm making from my blog, and I'm making more from my blog than I have from any job I've ever had. In the early stages, I always sent my BFF my blog posts to not only just share my posts with her, but to even ask suggestions about how I can improve. I also thought about potentially hiring her one day if she were interested. They were never long posts, but she never read them. She just wasn't interested, so I stopped sending them to her. She started noticing minor lifestyle changes, such as buying a home I've always rented, and she asked me how I could afford it. She doesn't know how much money I make, but she knows that I blog full-time now, and she now seems interested in my blogs, asking to read them. She also asked to borrow money to replace the engine in her car. I told her I didn't have the money. I knew she couldn't pay me back, and she said, "You blog about finance and you were good with money. How do you not have the money?" I figured you'd help a friend in a time of need since I would do the same for you if I had it. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hull. I would do the same for you. But she had a chance to help you with her time and she didn't. Time and money are both valuable resources. She did not see fit to spend her resources on you, so why spend yours on her? Also, it is quite cringe-worthy that she'll ask how come you can't lend her money since you're a finance wizard. Well, lady, because I don't make stupid decisions with my money, such as lending it to someone that chances are won't pay me back. Lol, here is a financial tip. Don't lend money to deadbeats. I don't ever lend money. If someone asks me for money, I always gift it to them. Not a good idea to do business with a friend. If I fully trust a person, maybe we can talk about a loan. Otherwise, I only gift. Not today, Hull. She would do the same for you. She didn't even read your blog posts. She just wants to use you. Not today, Hull. User alert. She only finally gave your blog attention when it would benefit her. Okay, but the real question, what's the blog? This sounds like something I need in my life. Not today, Hull. I hate people like this. The ones who are only interested after seeing the fruits of your labor. Couldn't be bothered in the beginning, but now that the success is rolling in, shake my head. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my friend for my engagement party? I, 26 female, recently got engaged to one of my old high school crushes. He was a foreign exchange student from Brazil. Last year, due to the state of things, I got stuck there during a business-related trip and met up with him, Gio, as we stayed in contact after he went back home. Things kicked off romantically, and we've been together since. I haven't gotten around to explain the relationship in full to our friends, just that I met someone and we're engaged. I'll be coming home soon and recently got into the details of our relationship with my friends. One of my friends, Anya, started talking about our old Brazilian exchange program and how she always liked Gio and hoped she'd get to see him when she came down for the wedding. She called him the one that got away and said she wished she took Portuguese so she could have gotten close to him. She really seemed enamored, and I couldn't bring myself to break her heart since she spoke so highly of him. However, yesterday I broke the news that Gio was my fiancé, and she seemed a bit off. She seemed even more eager to meet him and started DMing him on Instagram. The messages weren't overtly flirty, but they were a bit odd. She asked him if he was sure about me and if he gave himself enough time to explore. I'm really uncomfortable and have sent her a text and inviting her from the party. She called me a stuck-up and an a-hole for putting my jealousy before our friendship. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was the one who let jealousy ruin your friendship. Don't invite her back out of guilt or anything else. It's one thing to have a crush on someone, but to actively try to dismantle an engagement and then act like a victim is repulsive. I mean, hands down, she's trying to sabotage the relationship. Why would you want someone like that at your engagement party or even wedding? She called me stuck-up and an a-hole for putting my jealousy before our friendship. No, she put her desire for Gio over your friendship. Her messages to Gio weren't called for. Kudos to him for letting you know. Her behavior made your decision justified. It's your party. You shouldn't have to be uncomfortable around one of your friends. Not a hole. No, you put your relationship with your partner Gio before your friendship with her, especially since she seems to try to become a wedge between you. Selfish? Yep. Justified? Also yep. Not a hole. I'm not even sure you could call it selfish, considering how uncomfortable Gio might be with this woman hitting on him at his own engagement party. I'd expect my husband to disinvite someone who was acting like a creep toward me to any event, let alone our own engagement party. Although I do think this whole situation is incredibly weird, why did no one know about Gio until now? Is OP rushing into things? It's just odd. We were all busy. The time was never right to go into details. Someone was sick, someone dies, someone got evicted, someone was pregnant, etc. It was never the right time to go. This is Gio. Next story. Am I the a-hole because I told my friend that she deserved to be fired? My friend and I met when we worked together. She was one of the first people to talk to me when I started and introduced me to other people that worked there. Well, I'm not sure what happened, but she started to get lazy. Show up late, stand around and talk. Which is whatever, but when other people have to pick up your slack, it's BS. When I was put on teams with her, other people would complain about her not pulling her weight. There were times we were trying to get finished and off early, and she still had social hour and cost us to stay till regular time or even late. She was being talked to by management repeatedly. She'd tell me she got yelled at. Their big thing was her being consistently late. I told her to leave earlier. Well, I have to drive all the way from. It's a long drive. I tried helping her improve with other things they coached her on, but she had an excuse for everything. This went on a year or so, and I found a better job and left. She kept asking me to get her a job there, but since I knew how she was, I told her they weren't hiring. We'd hang out, and it was a lot easier not working with her. She'd still vent, but I wasn't on the other side of it, so I could be more objective and less annoyed. This has been 2 years. She called me the other day and said she got fired. I said I was sorry to hear that, but places are hiring and she can bounce back. She started going on and on about how this was out of the blue and they never warned her. I bit my tongue. I'm a supervisor now, so she wanted my opinion if I thought she deserved to be fired. I kept dodging the question and saying, I don't know, I'm not there anymore. She said, no, just be honest. What do you think? You worked there. I didn't want to, but I knew she wouldn't let it go, so I said, honestly, no offense, but yeah, they warned you like 100 times. I even tried telling you how to improve, but you wouldn't listen. She said I was harsh and should talk to me later. Am I the a-hole? I probably am, but don't tell people to be honest when you don't want the truth. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You tried to be polite and she kept pushing you, so you gave her an honest answer about her job performance. She doesn't need to be cuddled. She needs to wake up and work on her performance and attitude. It may sting, but she sounds like she had it coming. Why else would she try to get another job? I bet she knew she was no longer able to get away with stuff. She needed to be dealt the harsh reality that if she gets lazy and irresponsible with her work, she's gonna be canned. Hopefully, she learns from this since that would be good for her. So true. So many people ask for an honest opinion, but when they tell an honest answer, they will start acting like you were an a-hole or you were so harsh. A. She was warned 100 times before it happened. B. She asked a question and wouldn't let go when you said you didn't answer. Don't ask a question, get an answer, then go all surprised Pikachu face. She is for sure the a-hole. Let her be salty all she wants. You are not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She asked you to be honest, and so you were. She could have taken your honesty and used it to improve herself, but she decided not to go that route, so it's not on you. Not the a-hole. She's got to do better at her next gig, and if you lie, that won't help. Yeah, she was prodding because she knew but needed to hear it from someone else to confirm. Insisted on hearing it from someone else to confirm, then got mad at them for it. Sometimes I wonder if people like this do it because they do know, and they do need to hear, but they can't stand knowing they did it to themselves. So they push this kind of thing just to have someone else to get mad at. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for disinviting a coworker for perpetually spoiling things? Almost every Friday, my coworkers and I will go out and get drinks and socialize. More often than not, it's an open invitation for the entire office, and even people outside of our team will join. We typically have a great time, but only when Logan, 20s male, doesn't show. Logan means well, but is easily excitable and engages people in conversations they're not interested in. The worst of this behavior has to do with spoiling movies, shows, games, etc. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had tickets to see the new Mortal Kombat movie over the weekend. Logan lit it up and immediately responded, "You'll love the scene where, spoiler, happens and when, spoiler, shows up." I was bummed and walked away without continuing the conversation. Later that same night, Amy, another co-worker, was discussing a TV show she was a few episodes behind in. Logan blurts out, "I can't believe that beloved character dies in episode whatever number." Amy, who had obviously not yet watched it, went silent and turned away. Logan laughed and said, "I just can't help it. I get too excited." None of us were amused. A few days later, in our team-only group chat, someone brought up Logan's tendency to spoil things and admitted that they wished he weren't invited to outings because of it. Multiple people agreed and began to list everything Logan had spoiled for them. With this in mind, I didn't add Logan to the email invite for the next week's hangout. He noticed he never got an invite and began to ask around. As I was the one who'd written the email, he was eventually directed to me. He pulled me aside as I left for lunch and let me know I excluded him by mistake. Rather than try and play it off, I just told him the truth, that the fact he spoils everything is obnoxious and rude. I told him that joining conversations just to spoil things is bad enough, but he also starts conversations with spoilers. Logan was immediately defensive, claiming it's not his fault we're slow to watch, /play, etc., and that he's just making conversation. I said that if he swore he'd be more conscious about this habit, that he could join us that Friday. He came, and lo and behold, spoiled the plot of a movie I wanted to see in theaters. Out of frustration, I called him a prick and told him that this is exactly why no one socializes with him. He left soon after, and even though I said what everyone was thinking, I felt like an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Edit. A few weeks ago, we had lunch catered and all joined in the break room. A co-worker had brought a book to read during lunch, and Logan saw the cover, pulled up the Wikipedia, and read the entire synopsis aloud, including the big twist ending. I asked him why he would do that, and he responded, "Why not?" Not the a-hole. That is infuriating, and he deserves to be called out. If the group of people don't want him there, don't invite him. I would recommend planning these outings on your own time, such as at home during your lunch, and writing from your personal email to everyone's personal emails. This is to protect yourself if he goes to HR for bullying/exclusion. The job can't comment on anything done in your time and with your property. Absolutely seconding the suggestion to protect yourself HR-wise. But you're absolutely not the a-hole. This dude sounds obnoxious. Deliberately obnoxious, per the Wikipedia stunt with a book. This guy's dying to learn the consequences of his own actions. Yep, he absolutely knows what he's doing, and is doing it deliberately. Sounds like he's pretty much asking to be uninvited at this point. His little "but I'm just so excited" act is pathetic, bordering on hilariously pathetic. Please tell him the next time he starts his whining that literally thousands of people know what he's all about, and think he's a weapons-grade stain on the underwear of humanity. Not the a-hole. He absolutely can control his behavior. He chooses not to. He is deriving pleasure from spoiling things for everyone else. He can learn to control himself, or he can be excluded. The choices really do seem simple. Agreed. This isn't accidental behavior. It's intentional behavior that he has been asked to stop. So he is choosing to spoil and also choosing to do something that he knows is upsetting to others. Especially the situation mentioned in the edit. It wasn't his excuse of a "I'm too excited not to share" situation, because he had to Google the book to ruin it. I wouldn't want to spend any time with someone like that either. Not the a-hole. I think you're honest and decent to explain it and give him a chance. He blew it, but you tried. I have a friend like that, and as soon as they kick off, I'd cover my ears yelling la 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 in their face. Took a few times, but they got it. This was one-on-one convos. Imagine a whole work group yelling that in your face with their hands on their ears. Haha, the insanity. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pressure my grandfather to give my stepsister the family diamond? Context. I am 25 female. My parents have been divorced for 15 years. My dad has been married to his wife, Laura, for 10 years. Laura has 2 daughters, Katie 26 female and Sam 22 female. My dad is very close to Katie and Sam and considers them to be daughters to him. The grandfather I'm referring to is my dad's father. My grandfather has a diamond that belonged to my great-grandmother. And it's something of a family miracle, since my grandfather managed to find it after World War II. Unfortunately, he lost his mother and sister in the war, so he saved the diamond to be for the next woman in the family, to be set into an engagement ring. Now, my grandfather has a thing about blood and family. Namely, if you're not blood, you can be family, but you're not in the family. And I'm pretty sure this is somewhat related to his trauma, but it might be a generational thing. Because of this distinction, his aunts were not allowed to use the diamond for their wives' rings, because then the diamond would belong to the wife and the wife is not blood. I am his only biological granddaughter, so it was always presumed that the diamond would go to me. I got engaged last year and I didn't end up using the diamond for the ring. The diamond was not a color or the cut of the style I wanted, and my grandfather knew that. He offered to have the diamond recut, but I begged him not to because it is very valuable, and I know how much it means to him. So, he agreed that when I get married, he will set it into a necklace to be worn on my wedding day instead. Now, Katie is going to get engaged soon, and my dad is likely to be asked to walk her down the aisle. Laura asked my grandfather to give her the diamond for Katie's ring, since she is basically my father's daughter. My grandfather said, and I quote, "Not even over my dead body," and that the diamond will stay in the family. That said, Laura, my dad, and Katie are now extremely upset. My dad suggested maybe I could ask my grandfather to let them use the diamond, since I hadn't used it for a ring anyway and that he considers Katie part of his family and will be forever. So it should be okay for her to have it, especially since she is older, so the first woman as it were. My grandfather would probably relent if I asked him, but I said no, because I would feel too guilty. That diamond is all my grandfather has left of a family he lost in the most horrific circumstances when he was 9 years old. They don't even have graves. That stone is literally all he has to remember them. What right do any of us have to dictate what he does with it? Katie, Laura, and my dad have all been texting and calling about how hurt they are, that I am letting my grandfather exclude Katie from the family, and that I already have a ring. Why can't I just help my grandfather soften and let Laura and her kids be part of the family? I'm holding firm on it for now, but should I be? Now for the top comments. The diamond is all my grandfather has left of a family he lost in the most horrific circumstances when he was 9 years old. They don't even have graves. That stone is literally all he has to remember them. What right do any of us have to dictate what he does with it? Not the a-hole. I love you for this. For this statement alone, the diamond should go to you. Allow him to set it in a necklace and wear it all the time. It will make your grandpa happy. Not the a-hole. Reading between the lines, it seems your grandfather lost his family specifically because of their blood/genealogy. It makes sense that his own survivors matter so much to him. Not the a-hole. As much as they may be upset, it's not theirs. Your grandfather wants it to go to someone genetically related to him, not to someone brought into the family by marriage. His reasoning is exactly the same reason he didn't give it to the women marrying into the family. Grandpa has a right to say no. Your dad and stepsisters will just have to get over it. The hard truth is that they are not his grandchildren. They are step-grandkids, and family heirlooms don't typically pass down to stepchildren, especially with an older generation. And they became his step-kids as teens. It's not like he's been in their lives since they were babies. They likely didn't grow up viewing him as their grandfather at all, and while he may like them, they aren't his grandkids by blood or by social convention given their ages. Even if the kids had been adopted at birth, it wouldn't matter. They still wouldn't be blood relatives. I hope he's the only one entitled to that diamond, as she's the only one genetically related to the grandfather. I hope he's not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not bringing a cake to a wedding I was uninvited from? My now ex-best friend got married this Saturday. I was supposed to be the maid of honor, but she removed me from the wedding over a dispute regarding my makeup, hair, and disinterest in the wedding. She uninvited me from the wedding after I told friends my side of the story. I was responsible for the cake at the wedding but canceled the order because I was uninvited. I wanted to be reimbursed for all of my investments in this wedding. I told the bride I wasn't going to bring the cake over for them. The new maid of honor went to pick up the cake and learned that I had canceled the order. They were able to get another cake, but it apparently wasn't as nice. The bride, groom, and my sister who attended told me it was unfair to cancel the cake. My sister thinks I should have let them enjoy their special day, and then later discussed getting my money back. The bride refers to the cake as a gift and claims that a gift cannot be returned. The groom just agrees with literally anything his precious wife says. More info, please. What was the dispute? Why did she accuse you of being disinterested in the wedding? What actually happened here? I work at a job where I'm expected to drop everything and come in at work. She was upset because I was leaving during wedding planning meetings, and I also requested to style my hair differently and she got upset. You don't disinvite someone from a wedding and still expect a gift. Not the a-hole. I guess you could say the bride wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Yep, and there was no way that the bride would have settled up after the wedding. She would have stuck to the "this was your gift" line. Not the a-hole. So they uninvite you from the wedding but believe they were still entitled to the cake you had paid for? They're all ridiculous if they think that is normal. Completely agree. Also messed up that your sister is saying you're unfair. Should be upset too if she were uninvited and still expected to gift a cake. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. First, I've never heard of a maid of honor being responsible for the wedding cake. Was that an agreement in lieu of a gift or something? When I was getting married, I was way excited about the excuse for cake. I don't think I would have let someone else make those arrangements. You said you told them you weren't bringing the cake over. Did you mention that was because the order was canceled, or just that you weren't transporting the cake? It's weird that she didn't clarify on this point when she uninvited you. Sounds like they want to have their cake and eat it too, without you around. She was stressed, so I offered to help with some things. I booked the cake under my name and still had a different gift for them. After getting uninvited, I told her, don't expect me to supply you with a cake. So I did not exactly say I canceled your cake. Next story. Am I the a-hole for inserting myself into a married couple's financial life? I'm friends with a married couple, Grace and Michael. Grace and I went out to drink a few days ago, just the two of us. We talked a bit about inflation and finances, and she confessed to me that she barely has any money, and it makes her feel really vulnerable. Turns out, they mostly live off of her income, and Michael, who makes over 2.5 times as much as Grace, puts almost all of his income into savings. He also asks Grace to transfer any of her bonuses or extra money into that savings account. The problem is that Grace has no access to that account. She told me she asked for it in the past, but Michael just said she already has access to their shared checking account. That is strictly for their monthly expenses, so it's fine. Grace told me that she feels like she should have access to that account too, or at least have a little extra in her own personal account. So if anything happens to Michael, she doesn't have to wait months to access the money. She told this to Michael too, but he dismissed her and said nothing will happen to him. I told Grace that this is really not okay, and she should demand access to that account. It's her money too, and it's not right that only Michael has access to it. I was very strong about this, and made her promise that she will make Michael give access to her. She seemed very relieved that I agree with her, and find her concerns more than reasonable. Now on to the problem. Currently, Michael is throwing a fit at me for inserting myself into their financial life, saying it's none of my business. He says that over 85% of the money was put into the savings account by him, and whatever Grace put there was just to compensate for the things Michael paid for alone in the past. Yes, he is right that is none of my business, but my close friend came to me saying she feels vulnerable because at 30 years old, she only has about 500 euros in her name, despite having a well-paying job. Of course, I will tell her this isn't right and encourage her to stand up for herself. But since I'm friends with Michael too, I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are warning a friend that it sounds like she's a victim of financial abuse. He's demanding all her pay be shared while sharing none of his. He's trying to make sure she has no funds to which she can use to separate their lives, that he can claim all the money as his. She needed a huge wake-up call, and he's just mad you've shown her his true colors. I agree. Finally, we did the opposite. As my wife has little income, I made sure to put my life insurance in her name, and our joint savings account is in her name too. I want her to feel secure and have as much financial autonomy as possible given the circumstances. We save together, support each other. All the income is ours in my opinion. I feel like for a married couple, all income should be our money too. If that doesn't work for every couple, that is perfectly fine. Just keep totally separate accounts. I feel like it's one or the other. Opie's friend's husband is trying to have it both ways. He just wants all the money. There is no reason for her to have a well-paying job and feel like she's broke all the time. Opie, you were just validating what your friend already knows. Not the a-hole, but the husband sure is. Not the a-hole, and your friend is being financially mistreated by Michael, who is a total a-hole. Grace needs her own savings account to put her extra money into. This is not a marriage. Why does Michael think he deserves exclusive access to the extra money? If this is the way it's going to be, they should just keep separate finances for everything. It's an all-or-none situation. This sounds like one of those situations where the wife finds out her husband has a secret family or something. Or is deeply in debt, or gambling it all away, or has a secret drug habits or something. So many other awful and expensive things. She doesn't have access to the account because he is lying to her about what the account is for, and likely how much money is in it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for doing a background check on my boyfriend? My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3 months. Even though it's early days, I really thought he was the one. He is nice, attentive, funny, and attractive, and I'm getting older, and I thought he must be the one I have kids with and settle down with. But he doesn't drive, which is very strange in my city. The public transportation is really bad, and most people would opt for a car over an apartment because at least they would be able to get around. Only people who work from home or were in poverty wouldn't have a car, and he makes good money and works 15 minutes away from where he lives by car, so it made no sense. He shows up at dates by asking his friends for rides or asking me to pick him up. We live close by, so I didn't mind, but I asked him about it and he said cars are expensive and he didn't want to pay for one. But then he has trouble getting around and complains about how expensive Ubers are. One day, I found out that my state has a website of public crimes and decided to put in his name. A wall of offenses came up, and it matched his first, middle, and last names as well as his year of birth. He has 5 DUIs and has a court date for a pending one in a week. The DUIs range in date from 10 years ago to one he got 6 months ago. That's the one he is set to go to court for. Because his name isn't super uncommon, I decided to see if he takes the day off work because it's in the morning. He does take that day off and says he has a doctor's appointment. I confronted him when I came over that evening and he got angry at me for not trusting him and infiltrating his personal life like this. I'm angry he lied to me, and he says he doesn't have to tell me everything and that he's changed. I told him his last DUI was 6 months ago, so how has he changed? He got mad and said the cops were pinning things on him, and he just had alcohol with him and he didn't actually drink. I could believe that for 1 DUI, but he has 5. So I asked him to show me proof and he said he doesn't have to, and if I was a good girlfriend, I would just trust him. I don't because he lied to me already, but am I the a-hole for doing a background check on him why he didn't drive? Not the a-hole. Committing crimes that put other people's lives at risk isn't your personal life. Just dump him now. Dude can't even take responsibility for something he's been arrested for 5 times. Plus, if you've been arrested 5 times, guaranteed he's driven drunk multiple times where he didn't get caught. As someone who works in the justice system, I can say this is totally true. I see this all the time. I once had someone driving under influence to court. Although I live in another country, the people who do this are the same. Not the a-hole. Multiple DUIs can indicate a lot of things. And besides that, I honestly think more people should do a background check on their significant others. It could have been a lot worse than a DUI with no casualties. He wasn't honest about it and got angry when you found out. Might want to reevaluate if this is the guy for you. Might want to reevaluate. Red flags OP. These are your red flags telling you to run. At the point of 5 DUIs, it suggests to me a drinking problem. If it's changed, then does he drink? Is he in AA? I can understand not wanting to lead with that with someone before things get serious. But a conversation about a drinking problem you used to have is a lot easier than talking about a drinking problem you still have. Not the a-hole. She just looked up public records because she was curious about him dodging a question. Even if he had just said it was because of some personal issues he is addressing and wasn't ready to talk about it quite yet, OP probably wouldn't have pride. He dodged the question, and it's reasonable to look at public records to figure out why. Not the a-hole. You didn't run a background check. You checked public records. Run the heck away. Text him you're dumping him right now. He's an alcoholic liar with continual criminal thinking. Exactly. Him basically saying to you that you're not allowed to question him about what he does with his life is him saying that your relationship would be that you're not allowed to ask him questions if he had already decided to lie to you about what he was doing. He is someone who continuously drove drunk and has only stopped right now seemingly because he would go to prison. As soon as prison is off the table, he will likely be out driving drunk again.